The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
With that, I like to go to Carl Gallup's. He told me earlier he was kind of short for time. Carl, I was on P.P. Simmons' blog spot, and I guess you have an announcement to make about your congressman there from Florida.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much. And Commander Kirshner, God bless you as well. Is Commander Kirshner still on?
Yes,
yes.
Mike asked me to stay on during the whole show,
Yes.
so that's what I'm doing,
Yes.
just standing by and listening and throwing out
Yes.
a comment now and then.
Yes, thank you. Well, Commander Kirshner, I am not so vain to think you would remember this, but many years ago when Obama first went in office, I was on talk radio. I did not have a national program then, but we had a regional show, and I interviewed you because I was still trying to sort through the Obama eligibility stuff. I was listening to people like you, and you were one of the first ones to convince me that I needed to dig further. And once I did, after I interviewed you, I dug further and discovered that you were absolutely right. And, of course, I'm in this up to my eyeballs now, and Mike Zullo and I are daily in communication and working on this. So God bless you for that, Commander Kirshner.
Well, thank you very much. So it was my attorney Apuzzo on with me, or just myself?
Yeah. No, your attorney was there, too. Both of you were on the show with me.
And I put up a website, protectourliberty.org. That's protectourliberty.org, and that's where you can go get all those interviews that I did. They're on there. I put them up there.
Okay, well, fantastic. Well, let me get back to Mike's question. Mike, God bless you. Michael, thank you for having me on the show tonight. So you want me to tell the story? Yeah, I promised that I would out this particular congressman. It's an amazing story. I have breaking news on it tonight, something that happened today. So you ready for the story?
I just read a call. Let everybody know. I'm still laughing.
Well, I posted about him. I gave him a real land basket on my blog, so I hope you humbled him.
It's on Commander Kirshner's blog too, Carl.
Okay. Well, let me tell you the breaking news. Well, let me tell your story.
Uh-oh.
I think we might have lost. Are you still there, Carl?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes, I can hear you.
Carl, you have as much time. You have as much time as you need, Carl. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Sound went off again.
I think we lost him.
Somebody's playing these little Obite gremlins might be up to something again, or the NSA.
Hello, I'm still here. Are you?
Yeah, Carl. If you're in a bad location, maybe you could move around a little bit. Maybe go close to a window if you're inside.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in the same place where I do interviews every day. It may be NSA interfering here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. Go right ahead. Try it now. You have all the time you need, Carl.
Okay, let me give the story. Back in March or April, CPAC 2013, Mike Zullo and I traveled to Washington, D.C. We went to CPAC. We went to Capitol Hill. We spoke with several congressmen and other VIPs about the Obama fraud case. And we went to I'm sorry? Hello?
I can
don't
still
know what's
hear
going
you.
on, Carl. It seems like there's lines crossed or somewhere.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. This is frustrating. I'm so sorry. Can you still hear me talk?
Yes, we can, Carl. Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay. Anyway, while we were in Washington, D.C., we went to Capitol Hill. Mike Zullo and I had an appointment to see Congressman Jeff Miller, his chief of staff, Dan McFall. We met with Dan McFall for about 15, 20 minutes. Jeff Miller was in the House chambers voting, but he came out. We met with Jeff Miller for about 15, 20 minutes, so about 30, 35, 40 minutes total. In that meeting with Jeff Miller, Mike Zullo laid out all of the evidence he had that he could tell him about, told him that we had this criminal case, told him it was a 100% slam dunk. Mike Zullo and Jeff Miller, I don't remember who brought it up first, but they both agreed that when Jeff Miller went back to his home state in Florida in a few weeks, that Mike Zullo could fly out there and that I would meet with them. Jeff Miller is my congressman, and he asked if I would meet with him and Zullo, and as Zullo brought all the evidence, he said he wanted to hear it, and that he also wanted to submit Zullo's evidence to his own investigators and his own forensics people. Zullo agreed that that could all be done. So we went home. In the meantime, about a week or two later, I had not heard from Miller's office, so I started an email correspondence with his booking secretary, Jessica, and his chief of staff, Dan McFall. I've got that whole email chain. That's what's been posted on the Internet. And the bottom line is, I'll just get to the point, the bottom line is, in that email chain, promises were made from Dan McFall himself and Jessica, the booking secretary, that Congressman Miller would meet with Lieutenant Zullo and me, and the name Lieutenant Zullo was in the emails, and that, as a matter of fact, Jessica said Congressman Miller was looking forward to meeting with me and Zullo in Florida. Then a date and time and place were set. The address was given, the date and the time was set. Zullo got plane tickets, car rentals, motel rooms, and we were ready to go. A day or two later, I got a call from Dan McFall saying that there would be no meeting because Congressman Miller didn't remember ever asking for such a meeting, didn't know that there was a meeting, had no knowledge of this meeting. It was surreal. I was blown away. I said, I cannot believe that this is how you're going to handle it. And he continued to insist that they just didn't remember making such a meeting. I said, well, what are you going to do about this email chain that I have? And the phone went silent. I think they forgot that we had been communicating by email, and I possessed the whole email chain. Now, there's been a lot that's happened since then. I'm going to take a breath and see if you guys can still hear me.
Oh, fine. I think I cleared the problem up.
Okay, good. Well, let me continue with the story because it gets deeper. So I told Dan McFall that if they were going to handle it this way, if they were going to be this dishonest about the whole thing, that I was going to expose them. McFall was very upset about that, very concerned. He still was a little, you could tell I thought he was upset because I reminded him of the email chain. I think he had forgotten that when he started this gaslighting attempt on me. Basically, guys, McFall was calling me a liar, and he basically was saying that I was crazy, that I was insane, that I didn't know what I was talking about, that whole meeting never occurred, basically, is what he was saying. So anyway, I waited a couple of months. I wrote an article months ago, put it on P.P. Simmons. It went all over the Internet telling what happened, but I left the congressman's name out because I was trying to give him a chance to do the right thing. In the meantime, I sent several more emails asking them to do the right thing. They never responded. So finally, yesterday, I wrote an article, put it on P.P. Simmons, exposed the congressman, gave his name, gave his phone numbers, his addresses, encouraged people to write. I put the entire email chain on the Internet for people to read. For your listeners, they can go to carlgallups.com/Freedom Friday. carlgallups.com Freedom Friday. And at the top of the page, they'll see the link, Congressman Miller's emails. But anyway, bottom line, this morning, now tomorrow is my show, Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups. I have a national and international audience, and I will be talking about this. But today, I was filling in. I was guest hosting on a regional station. We reached 4 states on the Gulf Coast. I was guest hosting on Open Mic. Mike Mashburn, the host, was not able to be there, so I had the whole show. And I exposed this to the region in which Congressman Miller is the representative. And the radio show went wild. Our phone lines were jammed and slammed. We started getting callers telling us that they had been calling Miller's office. Dan McFall was answering. And in spite of the fact that I'm reading the emails over the air, Dan McFall was telling callers this morning that the meeting was never agreed upon, that they didn't know what I was talking about. The whole time he's telling the callers that, I'm reading the emails from Dan McFall, wherein he said that Congressman Miller would meet with me and Zullo. I'm reading the emails from Miller's booking agent, booking secretary, Jessica, saying that Congressman Miller was looking forward to meeting with me and Lieutenant Zullo. So in spite of the evidence, in spite of the emails, in spite of me being on the radio, the congressman's office, his chief of staff, is continuing to perpetrate, continuing to tell these lies. Now, in the meantime, one caller said that Dan McFall claimed that they would be glad to meet with me privately without Zullo because I was Miller's constituent and Zullo was not. Well, two things about that. First of all, Zullo is a constituent in that Congressman Miller is a U.S. congressman, and Zullo is a law enforcement officer with criminal evidence against the president, and he has been in Miller's presence. So in that in that condition, Zullo is a national constituent. Now, I am a local constituent, so I called their bluff today. I wrote him an email and said, yes, I'll be glad to meet with Congressman Miller, provided I can videotape the entire meeting and have a witness. Because, they've already lied so viciously to me and about me that there's no way I'm going to have a private meeting without recording it some way. We'll see if they agree to that. I doubt seriously if they will. I have no idea why they would want to meet with me privately when Zullo is the one that holds all of the criminal evidence as the official investigator. But it's just an amazing thing, guys. This guy, Jeff Miller, is a Republican and supposed to be a conservative, fair-haired boy, and he's playing the tactics of the liberals, the socialists, and the Obama bots. He's using the very same tactics, and instead of being a man and living up to the meeting that he arranged, he is using his minions to try to convince me that I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm sitting here holding the emails in my hand, reading them over the air. And that's just about the story right now. But it's going to continue to go. As long as they continue to deny it, I'm going to continue to talk about it in every venue that I have.
I know we've been following it, waiting for you to release the name of the person that you were going to have the meeting with, and then that turned things around. It's unbelievable, Carl. You think he got scared? Do you think somebody got to him? Or do you think at the very beginning he was just lying to you just to brush you off and get rid of you?
Well, here's what I think. I've known Jeff Miller for a long time. This is not a personal vendetta. I have been a supporter of Jeff Miller. I supported him when he ran the first time. I was instrumental in helping him to get in office the first time. I have spoken highly of him over the radio for years. So this is not a personal vendetta. Jeff Miller has never done anything to me. I've never done anything to him. We're not enemies. There's no behind-the-scenes story to this. It's just that I've been after him for years to talk to me about this Obama fraud thing, and he has continually brushed me off. And then finally, when I was in Washington, we sat down with him. Now, so I can tell you, Michael and Commander, I think one of two things happened. Now, I'm only speculating, but this is what I think. I think that after he because he and Zullo literally made this appointment together in person, and then he instructed Dan McFall to make it happen. I mean, I heard all of this. And then I got up and went with Miller to the House chambers, shook his hand, and said, now, Jeff, and Jeff and I are on a first-name basis, and we have been for years. And I said, now, Jeff, you're not lying to me about this, are you? You're going to meet with us. And he said, Carl, we're good to go, and smiled and shook my hand. So I think he was very sincere at the time. He seemed to really want to hear the rest of this evidence. So I think one of two things happened. I think he got to thinking about it. This is number one. And realized that if he ever saw this evidence with his own eyes, he would then be culpable. He would then be responsible and accountable for his oath of office. He would then have to do something. Now, if the evidence was a bunch of junk, he wouldn't have to do anything. But I think he realized that this is for real. This is not tinfoil hat stuff. This is real, live criminal evidence, which, by the way, guys, has now been peer-reviewed by scores of VIPs all over the nation. So I think he realized that. That's one thing. I think he might have gotten cold feet. He probably called his chief of staff and said, make this meeting go away. I think the chief of staff handled it badly. I think he thought, I don't know if he knows me. I think he thought he could just brush me off, make me think I was crazy, lie to me, and I would go away with my tail between my legs. Or number two, I think he ran this by some upper higher-ups in Congress, don't know who that would be, Boehner, somebody, and I think they told him, perhaps, and I don't know this, perhaps they threatened him. I mean, with all the NSA spying and the FBI spying and all of that, and the IRS, there's no telling what somebody might have said to Jeff Miller. And then that caused
Carl?
him to do. Yes.
I think number two is probably the most likely, because I see a pattern here that Congressman that Mickey Booth tried to give Zulo's evidence to refused to take it in his hand. I think they've been told from the top, don't accept it, don't meet with Zulu, don't touch his evidence, so they can have plausible deniability.
Well, I think I think you're right, Commander. However, you and I both know at this point to argue plausible deniability would be ludicrous, because if you
I heard Detective Zulu on the phone say that's what one congressman told him. Never heard about it, even though all of them got boxes of petitions on this.
No, I know, and I agree with you, Commander, but I'm saying that legally, technically, they cannot claim plausible deniability because they got boxes, they've got the information. We've met with them personally. The affidavit.
I ran 2.5 years of ads in the Washington Times on the issue.
Yeah, I know. There's no way that they can claim that. But I think one of those two things happened, Commander and Michael. I think one of those two things. That's only speculation on my part. I have no way of knowing. It's either that or they're just complete idiots in that office. And I've known Jeff for a long time. He's not an idiot. He's not. Dan McFall, I think, has a pretty impressive resume. I think somebody told me they thought he used to work for the FBI himself. So these guys are not idiots. So it has to be that they just wanted some plausible deniability. They got to thinking about it, or somebody has gotten to them. They've been threatened. I don't know what else to think, guys.
Carl, I want to respond to a couple of people that are in my chat room right now. We have JY1977 who says hammer their congressman at the town halls. Go to my website, where's Obama's birth certificate.com, get the shares kit. And I have a question from Mountain Goat. They want to know, Carl, they're asking you if you think this is a pattern with the congressman, what your congressman did to you.
Well, it seems to be. I mean, I've watched this happen with Jeff Miller calling me a liar, basically, through Dan McFall. I watched what happened with Mickey Booth, with a congressman saying, I don't give up, and expletive, and refusing. Other congressmen saying, wow, I didn't know anything about this. I think it's a pattern. I think we're seeing it. And I'm telling you guys, I believe that Congress is absolutely complicit in this. They are culpable. I think they know it. I think they're terrified of this being exposed because they failed to do their constitutional due diligence 5 years ago. And I think this is why they keep trying to shove it aside because
Carl, you know how they rationalize this in their brain, I think, psychologically? They think they're protecting we Americans from a race riot, that they are somehow protecting us from the total violence in this country. But they're just making it worse.
Yes. General Paul Vallely went on a national radio talk circuit several years ago and said that he knew for a fact that the FBI knew that Obama was not eligible and that key congressmen knew that Obama was not eligible. And General Paul Vallely said, but they told him, and this is what Paul Vallely said on the radio, they told him they did not want to act because they were afraid of a black backlash. That was what the words he used. I agree with Reverend Manning. I don't think that's going to happen. I think higher of our black population in this nation than our liberal politicians do. I do not think the majority of black people will riot once the criminal evidence is laid out there, number one. Number two, if blacks and or whites did riot over this, I'm like Reverend Manning. Let them riot. Let them pay the consequences because if we don't follow the law, then we're just going to be a banana republic where the most violent mob rules the day, like what's happening in Egypt right now. I do not want us to be in Egypt. I do not want us to be a Cuba or a Venezuela. We have got to be a constitutional republic. We follow the law, and whatever happens, happens, and we need to be men and women enough to deal with it.
And the longer this goes on, the more people Obama is getting in the critical positions that support his agenda.
Yeah, well, that's true. And the longer this goes on, the wimpier and wimpier our representatives become, even those who claim to be conservative. And it's only going to get worse. I mean, we have got to get these guys out of office. We've got to quit voting for the same ones to go right back into office. They get arrogant.
Do you know Colonel West, Carl? Do you know Colonel West? Why did he go from I'm going to go up there and shake up these Obama about these eligibility issue to when he got there, and now he says nothing about it?
Well, I don't know if you read my story on that, but Mike Zullo and I confronted Colonel West. Yes, I know him. I've had several personal conversations with him. We confronted him at CPAC, and he told Zullo to his face. After Zullo presented the evidence, he said, well, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, well, I see it. It's condemning. It's powerful, but I'm not going to deal with it because I might want to run for office in the future. In other words, Alan West. Do what?
It's all about them, not the country, not the Constitution, not what's right and wrong. It's all about them.
That's right. What I was going to say is Alan West, who claims to be this big hero of the conservative movement, on this issue has become a wimp of a man, in my opinion, and is selling the country down the river for the sake of him gaining a little 2-year political office. It's just astounding to me. It's despicable. It's sickening. To me, Colonel West right now is the epitome of hypocrisy.
Carl, I have an update for you that I'd like to give to you right now. And if you're just joining the show, and we've got a lot of people that just logged in recently, I have on the show tonight Carl Gallups from CarlGallups.com, Freedom Friday. He does a show every Friday on WEBY 1330 from the great state of Florida. I have Lieutenant Commander Charles Kirshner, retired. Carl, when you first said that you had a problem with that congressman and he refused to meet you, I gave you advice. And I met with my congressman, and I got the okay on the telephone, and I would not budge unless I got a confirmation email sent to me. And it took me 3 days to get a confirmation email, and I had it in my hand when I walked in the office. Over this past week, Carl, I've been grooming people and giving them advice. Matter of fact, today I'm making up more sheriff's kits to people that simply don't have the expertise or the equipment to download them, and I'm going to mail them out tonight. And I've been telling them to give them the same advice. Get an email, get a confirmation email back from whoever you're going to meet with in your hand. This way you can have evidence in case it doesn't happen. The other thing, Carl, I told you on my website I'm going to have a good list and I'm going to have a bad list, and your congressman is going to be at the top of my bad list, and that's for sure, without a doubt.
Well, good. Well, thank you for that. And just recently, you'll remember that Congress the House voted to continue the NSA extensive powers to spy on individual Americans. And that congressman, Jeff Miller, I looked on the list. He was one of the congressmen who voted for the NSA to continue to have that kind of power. He claims to be a conservative, but I'm telling you, by all of his actions in this, he is a Trojan horse.
Carl, there's one more update. I'm not at liberty to say, and I will not say the name of the congressman, but I do have a follower who lives in another area, and I will be meeting with his congressman. I have the confirmation email in my hand. I will be meeting directly with the congressman. He's asked me to attend, and that will be happening sometime soon. So it is working. People are getting grassroots. They're getting the message out that we have to deliver this. If it's one congressman at a time, so be it, and that's what we're going to do, Carl. We do have a meeting planned.
Thank you so much for your work, Michael. That's amazing news. I'm appreciative of it. I, too, am going to have to go very soon now. I've got another appointment in about 10 minutes. But in these next 10 minutes, are there questions you guys would like to ask me? Are there points you would like for me to clarify? Are there questions that your callers are blogging that you would like me to answer for you?
I have a couple of callers on hold. I have one that's been waiting for a while, and I could bring him online.
Okay.
I had a question for Carl, too, then, Mike, when you have a chance.
Yes.
Mike, I have a question for Carl. What about the Ford Selective Service card? that doesn't seem to get enough coverage when we go to these congressmen. As a retired veteran, that is a felony there too. That needs to be. I know it's in the affidavit and all that, but we always seem to be talking a lot about the forged birth certificate, and that selective service card gets like put aside.
Well, let me explain that. The selective service card has been forged as well, and we have the criminal evidence for that. Now, it's not being set aside by Zullo and the cold case posse, et cetera. Zullo has already signed the affidavit, laid that evidence out, and there's more evidence that he has not exposed. But I can say this. What we're trying to do is to stay single-focused on getting a congressional investigation, guys. Watch. Because if we can get a congressional investigation, then everything can be explored. The Social Security number fraud, the selective service fraud, the missing immigration records fraud, the birth certificate fraud, the hospitals that won't claim his birth, the Department of Health in Hawaii that will not certify, will not show any records, all of the records that have been locked down, his college records, everything. With a congressional investigation and their power to subpoena these people and compel them to testify, then everything can come out in the open. But if we continually pelt these congressmen with every little jot and tittle, it's going to overwhelm them. I don't think there's people.
My thinking, Carl, was, though, as soon as you say birth certificate, all that, quote, birther psychological training that Pavlov's dog kind of thing or whatever that psychological technique is, they immediately react because all they've been hearing is birth certificate, birth certificate, birth certificate, and they've been trained. A picture's been painted of people who are talking about the birth certificate. I just wonder if somebody led with a selective service card and put the birth certificate in second position, would it get any more congressmen to listen? Especially the veteran.
I don't know, Commander. I don't know. I mean, that's up to Sheriff Arpaio and Zullo how they want to pursue it. This is not a birther issue. It is an issue of a criminal fabrication, fraud, a felony taking place in and around the president's office on behalf of the president to cover up his real identity. Now, if we discover where he was or was not born in this process, and by the way, we will discover that. And by the way, I've got to be careful here, but we pretty much already know. But anyway, bottom line is this issue that we're trying to get the congressional investigation on is, number one, who fabricated a fraudulent identifying document for the man in the White House, the commander-in-chief, and number two, why did the White House feel the necessity to fabricate the only identifying document that America has ever seen to identify who the commander-in-chief of our military forces is? Those are huge questions, and they go to the Constitution and they go to criminal laws being violated, and that's the tack that Zullo and Arpaio are following.
Carl, I'm going to go to a caller. I'm going to give you an example of what's going on my website. I have a caller that's been holding on patiently. His name is Jeff. I'm going to hand-deliver him the sheriff's kit. You know, I travel about the country, so I have the opportunity to meet a lot of people. Jeff has a comment for you. Before I bring Jeff on right now, I have a question that you need to think about, Carl. You can answer later. They want to know about the Xerox thing. I guess people are saying that the birth certificate can be put in the Xerox copier and come out the way it is.
Yeah, I can answer that.
Let's go to Jeff first, Carl, okay? He's been holding a very long time.
Okay.
Jeff, you're on the air with Carl Gallups.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Jeff Harrison. I'm from Reynoldsville, Pennsylvania, DuBois, Pennsylvania. We're a Tea Party called PennsylvaniaFreedomFighters.com. And we're starting a campaign right now where we're trying to meet our legislators. And I took an ad out in the newspaper that's coming out Saturday and Sunday, local newspaper. We're writing letters. We're making phone calls. And I'm not going to give the names of who we're contacting, but I can tell you that I got a message that their Twitter account is getting frozen. Basically, I'm asking people out there to get busy, write letters, make phone calls, go see their congressmen, go see newspapers, make handouts, go door to door, get busy and start doing stuff. You cannot sit home and let other people do this work. You have to call your friends and neighbors and relatives and anybody that you know, and network. We send out emails to the Tea Parties in our area. We're sending out letters. We're doing what we got to do, and you can't sit around and let other people do the work.
Yes, Jeff. What was your question for me,
Jeff?
Jeff?
I appreciate it. You have a question?
Well, the question is, why aren't people doing what they should be doing? Why are they sitting back?
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, thank you, Jeff. God bless you. Thank you. And thank you for the work you're doing. Well, my answer to that would be people are getting involved now. People just have not known what to do, and they were frustrated. I mean, if Sheriff Arpaio couldn't get Congress to listen to him, people sitting at home watching the news at night felt completely powerless, which is what the Obama administration had counted on. But what they forgot is that there were tenacious people out here, Mike Zullo, Arpaio, myself, Mike Boleyn, Commander Kirshner, and others, who were continually pushing this until now we do have the ear and the attention of congressmen and sheriffs and police chiefs and attorneys and judges and constitutional attorneys across this nation. And now we've got the Supreme Court of Alabama's attention and a 71-page affidavit filed with them. And now we've got Congressman Steve Stockman and Ted Yoho and others around the nation who are saying, you know what, we need to get this before Congress. So this thing is rolling along and heating up. And so I would say, Jeff, people are getting involved, and we've got to continue to educate them on how to get involved, get the sheriff's kit, make phone calls, send letters, do emails, blog about it, pass our videos around, our websites, our radio programs. We've got to overcome the mainstream media's blackout. We're doing that, so don't give up hope, Jeff. These things take time, but I'm telling you, folks, I want you to know this really is moving along quickly. I know to the average person who's been sitting out there watching this for 5 years, they think it has been grindingly slow. But you've got to remember, this criminal investigation has only been completed in the last 2 years under Arpaio. Before that, we did not have anybody that had investigated it. So it's only been 2 years since we've had the evidence in hand. And it was slowed down for a while because Arpaio and Zullo were flabbergasted when the mainstream media refused to carry it and no one refused to investigate it. So it's only been in the last few months since Zullo and I went to CPAC that this thing has rolled along. And in the last few months, it has gone from zero all the way to where it is now, with congressmen running around scared, with other congressmen like Stockman getting on board, with all of these VIPs around the nation now knowing about it, with the affidavit being filed in the Supreme Court of Alabama. I mean, this thing is moving along literally at lightning speed right now. So because it got a jump start just a couple of months ago. So, Jeff, I would tell you, and Mike, I would tell you and your listeners, be patient, keep praying, keep working, keep trudging along, because this is moving forward.
The far left, the communists, they've been working on this for 50 years.
I'm sorry, both of you were talking. I couldn't.
Could you give me a 30-second answer about the Xerox issue? Because I have a caller on the line. She contacted me last week. She downloaded the kit. She went to her congressman, and she just got back from a conference call, and she's waiting on hold to speak to us. What about the Xerox?
Yes. Here is what I'm at liberty to say. Mike Zullo is completely aware of every bit of those allegations and that information, and here is my 30-second statement. It is of no concern. It is of no concern. That's all I'm going to say. It is of no concern. Do you understand, Mike?
I have it, Carl, and I'll address it later on. Carl, I'm going to go to this caller. She contacted me last week with this grassroots movement call. It's really moving. And my call screener, my dedicated call screener, Mona, has told me that she just had a conference call with her congressman, and I am going to bring Leslie on the line. Leslie, welcome to the show with Carl Gallups.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Leslie. Thank you for calling in. God bless you.
Well, I just, I guess you wanted me to talk about my experience?
Yes.
In presenting. Basically, I went to a town hall on Saturday. My sister went with me, and I had letters ready to go because I knew we were supposed to be thanking Congressman Stockman and trying to get our congressman on board. And so I had letters ready to go, and I was going to take the documents, and since I was going to go meet with him, I wouldn't have to spend postage. And so I did that, and I recorded it and posted it on YouTube, and then it just went viral. And I will say that the attention from the left has been horrific. I mean, they badmouth me. I chose my words very carefully. And basically I just said that I had wanted to give him an affidavit from Mike Zullo that is evidence that the birth certificate of Barack Obama is a fraud and forged, and that I wanted him to look at the information and get back to me and let me know if he would support the 3 representatives, and I told them by name and by state, and he took the document and gave it to his assistant and said he would look at it, and then he went on to talk about impeachment. And, you know, bless his heart, he's a good man, he really is, but he screwed up talking about impeachment. I did not want him to address impeachment. I didn't even say the word. And the issue that I brought up isn't a birther issue. It is a felony issue. And
I agree.
Yeah, I have been fighting that battle. The comments on his Facebook page of people that are Obama supporters, it's really interesting to me that Obama supporters never provide anything substantial to a discussion. They always insult.
Well, and Leslie, let me just interject and say, welcome to my world for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And number two, don't worry about that. They're irrelevant, Leslie. They're
I'm
irrelevant.
I am proud that I've ruffled their feathers.
Yes, they are irrelevant because they have no facts, they have no truth. All they can do is try to marginalize you. But people understand that now. They're catching on to that. That's communist tactics. That's socialist dictatorship tactics, and
Exactly.
and it's becoming exposed, and they are more and more irrelevant. And so let me just say to you, Leslie, and to you, Michael, you were asking about the Xerox machine. Here's the thing: the Obama bots are dying for me or Zullo to talk about what we know about that. They think they found the goose that laid the golden egg. And they're dying to know what we know about it. Well,
Exactly.
Zullo and I are not going to expose. This is a part of a criminal investigation. And when it comes before Congress, then Congress will know everything. But I can tell you, it is of no concern. And you got to ask yourself, why would these guys, 5 years into this, all of a sudden say, oh, we've got a particular machine that can do these things? I mean, just think about what they're doing and the timing of what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah. So, Leslie, hang in there. Don't worry about them. They are irrelevant. They're a bunch of whiny babies. They have no facts. They have no truth. We have the facts, the truth, and legal evidence on our side, and we will prevail even if it's years from now. And I know you don't want to hear that, but what I'm trying to say is the truth will come out. Listen, people like us, we've already been vindicated. That 71-page affidavit vindicates us. The vetting of this before sheriffs and police chiefs and attorneys and constitutional lawyers and elected officials and congressmen who have seen this, and not a single one of them has rejected it as being bad investigation. Every one of them have hailed it as a monumental investigation. We have been vindicated. We are right. We have been right all along. Now it's just a matter of getting somebody to do something about it. So don't worry about it, Leslie. You are right. You are in the right. The Obama bots are irrelevant.
You got a court-certified document examiner, too, that stands behind us now.
Yes, Reed Hayes, who was a part. Yeah, thank you, Leslie. Reed Hayes, as you guys know, who was an expert witness for Perkins Coie out of Hawaii, who is Obama's law firm that he has used to defend his identity fraud. Reed Hayes was used by them for years and has testified for them, but now he has filled out a 40-page affidavit agreeing with Zullo's investigation and declaring that the birth certificate is a complete fabrication. I'm telling you, these guys running around talking about a Xerox machine, let me just tell you, it is of no concern, okay? I keep saying that because I know Obama bots are listening to us right now, and I want them to know it is of no concern, and that's all I'm going to say.
Carl,
and you're burning up my chat room. That's the number one question. Commander, hold on 1 minute.
Yeah,
Paul,
I want to tell Carl Leslie something.
I have my next guest holding on very patiently, Paul. I really appreciate it. I know we get passionate. Paul, you have about 1 minute to tell people where they can find you.
Thank you. Find everything about me at carlgallops.com. carlgallops.com. I'm the founder of...
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.